What tastes great and goes fast?
Find out next on Junk Food.
Oh, yeah! Welcome to Junk Food, the podcast about junk food, where we rate and review mystery treats to determine which one will be the undisputed champion of snacks. I'm your host, Mike. Alongside me, as always, Alyssa.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Liz.
Why do a lot of people listen to Beyonce?
Why do a lot of people listen to Beyonce?
Yeah.
I mean, because she's super popular?
Nope.
Why?
Because she slays.
Oh, I get it. She slays like a sleigh because it's the holidays.
The holiday season.
And welcome back once again to the world's yeetest podcast, Liz.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, whoa. Merry Snaxmas and welcome to week 2 of the Junk Food Holiday Snacktacular. We said it last week. It's the most hungerful time of the year. And guess what else?
What?
Snaxmas time is here.
Snaxmas time is here.
See, it sounds better when you do it.
Snaxmas time is here.
Hey, guess what?
What?
Last week, we crowned the inaugural Junk Food Kringle Kup champion. It was Hot Cocoa Hershey Kisses.
Hershey Kisses.
Liz, we had a blast doing that show, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was really fun. We are firmly in the holiday state of mind here at Junk Food HQ. Your Christmas playlist, Alyssa, is on repeat 24/7.
In my bedroom.
In your bedroom.
With my Christmas tree.
With your Christmas tree. In the car. Downstairs in the kitchen. Everywhere we go, Christmas music nonstop from you, of course.
That's me.
You know what's funny about that?
That's my duty.
It reminds me, Liz, of when I was your age. I was a little bit younger than you, I think, at the time, but we got our first CD player in the house. That's how long ago it was. We had vinyl record players, obviously, and we had tape decks, but we got our first big console CD player that we would put in the big stereo stack that we had in the living room with all of Grandpa's hi-fi equipment.
And then doesn't it what's it called? You put the disc on and it push it down and it goes shh in circles.
Yes, that's exactly how they work. We had previously borrowed a big old CD player from a friend of my dad's, and he let us borrow a couple CDs to play with it. The first was a Jimmy Buffett CD. That was a hoot. My favorite song was called My Head Hurts, My Feet Stink, which I thought was hilarious.
My favorite from Jimmy Buffett is the Toes in the Water.
Oh, that's the Zac Brown band.
Oh.
You were so close.
Purple Rain?
Purple Rain, also not Jimmy Buffett.
Oh.
Not even close on that one.
Well, what's Purple Rain?
Prince, by the way.
Wait, then what's Jimmy Buffett that I know?
Margaritaville?
Margaritaville.
Yeah, you got it. My other favorite song from that album that we borrowed was called This Hotel Room. Grandpa made us a bunch of big foam core props that looked like a hotel room, and we did a lip sync and dance number to that song in my talent show when I was, I think, in first grade.
Who went to it?
Who went to the talent show? Mm-hmm. Like who was in the skit with me, or who went to the talent show to see it?
Who was in the thing with you?
Oh, man, it was Teddy Marks and Mark Kelly and Joey Tallarico, I believe.
How did you guys know that song in first grade?
Because it's a great song.
Oh.
Yeah, Grandma and Grandpa would let us listen to Jimmy Buffett and all sorts of weird stuff when we were kids. It was fun. And you know what else she let us listen to?
Christmas songs?
Yeah, Christmas music nonstop on that big CD player. We bought a couple of CDs when we first got it from the Sam Goody in the Cherry Hill Mall. I think the first one was a Red Hot Chili Peppers album, which was explicit and definitely no good for kids. But we also got 2 different versions of the A Very Special Christmas albums that had some real Christmas bops on them. Bruce Springsteen doing Merry Christmas Baby, Run DMC's Christmas in Hollis, Christmas All Over Again by Tom Petty. That's the song that plays when Kevin is driving over the bridge in the taxi in Home Alone 2.
Wait, Tom Petty?
Yeah, Tom Petty.
I thought that was a football player.
You thought Tom Petty was a football player?
Yeah.
That's Tom Brady.
Oh.
So far you have confused Tom Petty, great American rocker, with Tom Brady, NFL quarterback, and Jimmy Buffett with somehow Prince.
And Jimmy Buffett and Zac
And Jimmy
Brown.
Buffett and Zac Brown. Now that I can see because they have actually done songs together.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Like what?
I don't know. You'd have to ask your mother. She would know that for sure.
Yeah, Mama would just be like, no.
Is that how she sings? Just like that?
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But you gotta make, like, the face. Like, she squints her eyes, moves her head.
Oh, and she does the like the vibrato with the voice there, the Mariah Carey up and down. Oh, very good. Well, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You is your favorite Christmas song, right?
All I want. See, it's like a little roller coaster.
Is this like your audition today? What are you doing here?
It's like my music mixed with fun.
Yeah, you know what? I like those sort of old standby Christmas songs, all the new classics and the old classics. You know what I really like, though?
What?
I like weird Christmas songs. The weird ones are the ones that really speak to me.
Like what?
Things I Want by Tenacious D. That's a good one. Cheech and Chong's Santa Claus and His Old Lady. That's a perennial classic. I Won't Be Home for Christmas by Blink-182. These are great lists. In addition to Mariah Carey, what are some of your favorite Christmas songs?
Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. That's a good one. Chase thinks that's hilarious.
I know. We'll just be sitting in the car, and then it'll start singing it, and then my brother will start, like, laughing his head off.
You know what else I think you like quite a bit? We sort of did a little teaser of it up front. Christmas Time is Here. That one.
Oh, and Last Christmas by Wham.
Last Christmas by Wham. You know who else does
Wham.
it? You know who does a cover of Last Christmas that's really good?
Who?
Jimmy Eat World.
Jimmy Eats World?
Jimmy Eat World, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
They're like an Arizona power pop punk band. They're really good.
Pump rock.
I think you'd recognize Jimmy Eat World if you heard them.
Probably.
Definitely you would. And we definitely recognize the Christmas Time is Here song because it's one of the greatest Christmas songs of all time, and it's on A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yep, we
And you
just
know
watched
what?
that.
We did, and you know why?
Because of this week's snack.
Because it reminds me of this week's snack. Up next on Junk Feud, Chex Mix. Alyssa, what do you know about Chex Mix?
Well, I know that it is magically delicious.
Magically delicious. That's Lucky Charms.
Magically delicious.
Another cereal, not Chex, but Lucky Charms is magically delicious. You know what? I actually don't know what the tagline for Chex is, if they even have one.
Well, theirs will be saltily delicious.
Saltily delicious. Savorily delicious.
Crunchy salt.
Crunchy salt, that's right. This is crunchy salt because Chex is best known for being an ingredient in Chex Party Mix, which we're going to talk about today. Chex Mix debuted, if you can believe this, there's an exact date, on June 16th, 1952, when there was an advertisement in Life magazine with a recipe for a party mix that included wheat and rice Chex. Corn Chex, which you commonly see in mixtures today, was not added until around 1958 when it came out, and the prepackaged versions of Chex Mix that you could buy in the store didn't even debut until 1985. But the recipe in 1952 and 53, featuring wheat and rice Chex, was featured on the sides of Chex boxes in those years. Liz, do you know what else was going on in 1952?
Nope.
No idea.
Well, I can see.
Okay, go ahead.
Elizabeth II became the Queen of England.
Yeah, what do we know about Queen Elizabeth?
That she has just sadly passed away.
Yeah, that's true. But in 1952, she became the Queen of England.
Yep.
What else?
The Yankees won their 15th World Series.
Yeah, the Yankees had already won their 15th World Series by 1952. If you ask me, that was already too many. And then they continued to go on winning more and more, which is terribly obnoxious.
Yeah. And Phillies only won like two,
yeah. The Today Show premiered on NBC for the first time. There was the first flight of the B-52 Stratofortress. That's a pretty good name for an airplane.
That sounds like a mattress.
Stratofortress sounds like a mattress?
Yeah, like Mattress Kingdom, Moon's Mattresses.
Mattress Kingdom's Moon's Mattresses. Come sleep in your brand new Stratofortress.
Yeah, that'd be good, Dad.
That would be pretty good?
Yeah.
You know what else happened in 1952?
What?
It ties in to the holiday snacktacular in a way. A 13-year-old boy named Jimmy Boyd sold 3 million copies of his record, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus.
Oh, I like that one, too.
That's a good one, too. I think you can put that right up there with novelty songs like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Oh my goodness, I have that ornament, and I just click it over and over again, and it sings it, and it drives everyone crazy.
That's a pretty good one. How about Dominic the Christmas Donkey? Do you remember that one?
Sort of.
Jingity-jing, hee-haw, hee-haw.
Jingity-jing, hee-haw, hee-haw.
The Italian Christmas Donkey, Dominic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a little goofy, but I like it.
I'm trying to, think of the tune.
Hey, you know what else I like?
What?
I like Chex cereal.
I do too.
Liz, Chex cereal was manufactured from the 1930s all the way up until the 1990s by a company called Ralston Purina. Do you know what Ralston Purina was famous for?
What?
They made animal feed.
Like the reindeer food?
Well, I guess they probably could have had a reindeer food, but they were a company that was founded in 1894. They made chow for different types of animals. Pig chow, horse chow, dog chow. They made dog food. Liz, Purina was a dog food company.
Chow.
Yeah. They had a part of the company that did make food for humans. In fact, it was called the Human Foods Division. They were famous in the 1980s for making cereals that were tie-ins to established media properties. So like if you remember, well, you don't remember this, but some listeners might, Batman cereal, Bill and Ted cereal, Barbie cereal, Gremlin cereal, Ghostbusters cereal, the Nintendo cereal system. You know what those cereals were all known for? All of those Ralston Purina cereals, what they were known for?
The marshmallows.
They did have marshmallows in some of them. They were also known for being like pretty bad. They definitely did not taste very good. They were all pretty like one note and boring. And in fact, there were lots of people that said, because of how boring and one note they were, that they probably tasted a little bit like the dog food that the Ralston company was known for making.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. They did have this really awesome Batman bank that came packaged on the front of the Batman cereal in 1989. I thought that was pretty cool. I think Uncle Matt still has his somewhere.
He kept it?
He did, that's right.
Oh.
There's a lot of good memories from some of those cereals, even though they were pretty bad. There are some bad memories, however, from a social movement called Ralstonism that the company was named after. There was this guy named Webster Edgerly. He founded this social movement called Ralstonism, which we should just get right down to it. It was a racial purity cult, Alyssa, that was funded by selling mail-order books about how brushing your teeth could help you develop mental telepathy.
Huh?
Yeah, it was very weird. The guy was a bit of a white supremacist.
So, like, a crazy person?
Absolutely. This is some fodder for another episode, but I think you've summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, I think you should just use some more kid-friendly language for me. Just be like, he was a crazy white guy.
He was a crazy person, and he was not terribly popular, and neither was Ralstonism, but Chex Mix, after 1952, became very popular. According to the current owner, General Mills bought out Ralston Purina. When the wife of a St. Louis-based Ralston Purina executive brought a traditional snack mix to a holiday party in 1955, and some of that had Chex cereal in it. At that point, party mixes in general were seeing a bit of a rise in popularity. It was the 1950s. It was the television age. You could sit down with a big bowl of Chex Mix or party mix or snack mix and not have to take your attention away from the television while you ate it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty smart, huh?
Yeah. That's what I was doing the other night.
Yeah, you were just sitting there while we were watching a Charlie Brown Christmas and you were munching away on a bowl of Chex party mix.
And then when you went upstairs to bed, I started watching William Osmond, and then I took the entire bag out.
I noticed today, when I poured some out for our taste test, that the bold Chex Mix bag was significantly lighter than the traditional Chex Mix bag.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that should give you an idea about which one you like a little bit more.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah, and we certainly like to eat Chex Mix, and we like to eat it at the holidays in particular. Why do you think party mixes are big during the holidays, Liz?
Because of Charlie Brown?
Well, part of it is Charlie Brown and the Peanuts tie-in that we'll talk about in just a moment, but a big deal is that party mixes are easy to make. They don't have a lot of ingredients. None of them are terribly exotic or expensive, and you can make really, really big batches of this for not a lot of money, especially when you expect to have guests like you do around the holiday season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, Chex leans into this quite a bit. About half of the yearly sales for Chex cereal happen during the last 3 months of the year, according to the New York Times.
Wow.
And it's a big deal for the companies, too. Cereal companies like party mixes because they expand what they call, in industry jargon, a usage occasion. What do you think a usage occasion is for cereal, Liz?
Like over-explosion of use.
Over-explosion of use? Well, that's exactly what they are hoping for by expanding usage occasions. What they really mean is when you eat a bowl of cereal, the standard usage occasion is a cold bowl of cereal, usually with milk, at breakfast time. But if they want to sell more cereal, they have to get people to eat their snacks, their foods, at different times of the day, at different times of the year. If you think about what Rice Krispies has done with Rice Krispie treats, that's exactly what they mean by expanding usage occasions. You're turning your cereal into something that it's typically not designed for. You can eat a big bowl of Rice Krispies for breakfast, or you can mix them with butter and marshmallows and have Rice Krispie treats any time of day.
My friend bought these like Christmassy goldfish kinda.
Christmassy goldfish?
They were like flavored like marshmallow. Well, they had like chocolate, and then marshmallows.
Yeah.
So then you would stack them up and just like plop them in your mouth.
Oh, so that's like a sweet party mix, but with goldfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Party mix wasn't the only attempt for the Chex company to expand usage occasions, just like you're talking about with goldfish right there.
Yep.
They had recipes for popcorn balls that swapped out popcorn for Chex. They had fudge recipes that mixed in Chex. There were some Vienna sausages cut into slices and speared between Chex squares. That sounds kind of gross, actually.
Yep. That's like the Reese's Cups with the beans.
Reese's Cups with beans or Chex cereal with Vienna sausages. Do you know what a Vienna sausage is, Liz?
No.
It's like a little pale spiced hot dog that comes packed in a liquid in a can.
Ew.
Yeah, they're not great. I think Grandpa likes them, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah. Okay.
There was also a recipe called cheese Chex, which sounds, I don't know, equally as gross, maybe. It was melted cheese and butter sort of sloshed together and then coated over Chex cereal pieces.
Ew.
Yeah, none of those were hits, but the original Chex Mix recipe from Life magazine in 1952 was a big hit. Liz, here is the actual original recipe from that advertisement. There have been at least 3 different recipes that Chex has called the original Chex Mix recipe, but this is the one. It was butter melted in a pan with a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 cups of wheat Chex, 2 cups of rice Chex, and then a half cup of some sort of nuts. And to all of that, you added salt and some garlic salt, and then you baked it in an oven set at 300 degrees for 30 minutes.
Did you ever make it?
I have never made the exact 1952 Chex Mix recipe, but it's super simple. It's just wheat Chex, rice Chex, and nuts with some sort of flavored seasoned butter melted on top of it and then baked into it. It's fairly straightforward. Yeah, it's sort of a remarkable recipe because it's so simple, and it was just a way to try to get people to eat more Chex. In fact, by including wheat Chex and rice Chex in the recipe, that meant that people had to go out and buy 2 different boxes of cereal if they wanted to make this. When they added rice Chex later on, they expanded the recipe to include all 3 cereals. So all of a sudden, if you wanted to make Chex Mix according to the recipe, you had to buy 3 boxes of cereal, which was probably more than most people were willing to do at that time.
Have you ever made one with more than 2 rice Chex?
With more than 2 varieties of Chex?
Yeah.
Oh, we sure have. And in fact, we're going to get to that in just a moment. But here's a funny thing about that issue of Life magazine in 1952. There were a number of different advertisements in it, aside from the Chex Mix recipe, and they were catering mostly to housewives as a marketing demographic. There were ads for new refrigerators. There were recipe cards for easy pie crusts. There were ads for home decor, dishwasher-safe china. The idea was that you could aspire, by buying all of these things, obviously, to being a careful hostess in your home, someone that paid attention to making people feel comfortable if they came over when you were entertaining. But you could do it on the cheap and easy, thanks to all the modern conveniences of the atomic age. It was entertaining for the TV dinner set list, and it worked. The Chex Mix recipe and all of those things like it worked.
Wow.
Yeah. Later in 1966, corn Chex were added, more nuts were added, more butter was added, more seasoning was added to account for the extra cereal that went into the recipe. There was a version in 1974 that was called Patio Mix that swapped out the Worcestershire sauce for soy sauce and added some onion powder and then pretzel sticks as an option. That was the first time we saw that. There was another recipe from 1985 that was called the traditional Chex Mix recipe that specified mixed nuts instead of leaving it up to the hostess. And in 1992, to take advantage of microwaves and their prevalence in homes, there was a new recipe that advocated for cooking the whole mixture in the microwave and then tossing everything together in a big zip-top bag. Today, Liz, the official original, in air quotes, Chex Mix recipe is all 3 cereals, mixed nuts, pretzels, bagel chips, and then some additional seasonings like garlic powder, onion powder, and then some seasoned salt.
Wow.
Yeah, and there are lots of different varieties too. You've had some of these, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, they're separated into sweet and savory varieties. We've talked about all the savory or salty stuff already.
Yeah.
But the sweet ones are sort of like the classic Muddy Buddy or Puppy Chow variety. Do you know what Muddy Buddies are, Liz?
No clue.
Yeah, they're Chex that have peanut butter and chocolate melted all over them to coat the cereal pieces, and then they're tossed in powdered sugar.
They are?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I think you've had that at Ella's house before.
Yeah.
And in fact, those cereal pieces, that snack mix, is going to get its own show, but not today. Today, we're mostly talking about the savory varieties, and Liz, there are a lot of them.
There are?
Oh yeah, a ton. In fact, On the Chex website, there are more than 70 recipes for different types of Chex mixes, and just in stores over the past few years, you could have been buying cheddar Chex Mix, buffalo ranch, bold party blend, sour cream and onion, peanut lovers, hot and spicy, jalapeno cheddar, chipotle cheddar, Italian urban parmesan, cherry and crunchy nuts, that sounds weird, extreme sweet, spicy sriracha, extreme habanero, ghost pepper, and honey barbecue.
That's a lot.
Here's the interesting thing, Liz. Out of all those varieties, if you asked people which one they like the best, they might choose one. But if you asked them overall which party mix they like the best, most people, I think, would say, whichever one, we make at home. Because party mix is an incredibly individualized snack. Every family, I think, at least in the United States, if not the world, has a recipe that's been handed down through generations for some type of party mix. And a lot of them are variations on the original Chex Mix recipe.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know that we have one too.
We do?
We do.
Like our own. Oh,
like
yeah.
Our own. Oh, yeah, that's right. What were you eating all summer?
Chex Mix.
Yeah, a big batch of party mix that we made. So what happened was last year, we were inspired by this article in Bon Appetit magazine on snack mix ratios. And, you know, we had made, when I was a kid, every once in a while, variations on the original Chex Mix, but our family, me, you, mom, your brother, we didn't really have our own recipe until last year when we started making one that was based on this ratio that Bon Appetit had come up with for the way that savory snack mixes should be put together. It's sort of like a universal cheat sheet for how to make it. Do you want to hear what it is?
I know some of the things that are in it.
Why don't you tell me what you think it is first?
Well, I know that there's Cheez-Its, I know that there's Goldfish, and I know that there's M&Ms.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's obviously Chex.
Uh-huh.
And then Cheerios.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Mostly we use it as an excuse to clean out things that we have like half-eaten boxes or bags of in the pantry.
And then we'll just put it in big bags and just store it.
That's right. And it's mostly about 3 parts of Bugles. Remember those like horn-shaped corn chips that we have?
Oh, yeah. Those are really good.
Yeah, something like that that's crunchy and salty. Then 2 parts of something cheesy like Cheez-Its or Goldfish. We'll usually use both. 2 parts cereal. Obviously, this is Chex, but we mix Cheerios in there as well. And then there's like 2 parts pretzels, different shapes if you have them. 1 part nuts. We like to use cocktail peanuts or dry roasted peanuts because those we can have.
Anything else?
That's right. We can't have much else. And then finally, 1 part of sort of like bite-sized chocolate pieces. Last year, we used a mixture of plain M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, and peanut butter M&Ms, and that was kind of a nice take on that.
But also, I think next time we shouldn't add chocolate.
Oh, you don't like the chocolate in there?
I like the chocolate. It's just that we can't really like take it in the car with us or it'll melt.
That's true, especially in the summertime. You won't have that problem around the holidays in the wintertime, but in the summer, last year we put just plain chocolate chips in there, and that would have been a disaster.
It happened to me. And then mom told me I had to clean the car.
Oh, so you left something in there, huh?
So I learned from my mistakes.
That's good. I'm very proud of you. That's very big of you to admit that. You know, it's nice that the flexibility that a ratio-based recipe affords you by not prescribing exactly what you have to put into it is that you're free to make substitutions or swap things out as much as you like.
Yep.
Yeah. In the past, we've used things like rye chips. We're going to talk about them later. Pop chips in different varieties and flavors. I talked about chocolate chips already. It's basically whatever you have on hand. Now, you can add a seasoned butter mixture to this, just like the original Chex Mix recipe, and bake it, but I think I prefer this version. Maybe not all the other versions, but at least this version without any of those seasoned embellishments. I just like the heterogeneity of eating all of those different snacks and the different flavor profiles that they have, but all at once.
Same.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Liz, when we talked earlier about expanding usage occasions, which is not a thing that's easy to say, is it? Usage occasions.
Usage occasions.
Usage occasions. That reminds me of a joke from 30 Rock, the rural juror.
How about we just call it usage occasions? Is occasions an A or an O?
Occasion starts with an O.
So we'll call it GO. G-O.
G-O? What's the G for?
I mean U-O.
You were close, though.
U-O. Usage occasion.
Well, whatever it is, the idea of expanding usage occasions was obviously a pitch to repurpose breakfast cereal as an anytime snack. That's a pretty bold attempt at product growth, and usually when you have that sort of audacity to try to...
Audacity?
The audacity of the Ralston Purina Company. Is that a sentence that's ever been said by a human before?
I learned that word from Dance Moms.
Oh my goodness.
How dare your daughter and you have the audacity to walk into my studio like that?
Oh my gosh, what have I done? Well, listen, Ralston Purina had the audacity to try to repurpose Chex breakfast cereal as an anytime snack. And when you want to do something like that, you have to support it with a strong advertising campaign. And Lissa, when I think of a strong advertising campaign, I think of Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the Peanuts gang, don't you?
Yep.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Well, I was being facetious, but I guess that's, it's not...
It's Charlie Brown.
It is Charlie Brown, and that's what Chex Mix went with. There was a multifaceted marketing blitz with the Peanuts gang, all of them, starting in the late 1980s, continuing on through the 1990s. If you go on eBay, you can find all of the old Peanuts and Chex co-branded swag on there, and you can buy it, and it's very cheap because nobody wants it. There were...
Swag?
Swag.
Swag.
Yeah, like swag, like stuff you... Stuff you get like for marketing purposes.
Swag?
Swag,
Okay.
So, do we not say that?
Swag.
Are we going to have an episode of Dad Explains It All where I tell you what swag is?
Swag. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's for another episode. Right now, though, if you wanted to, you could go on eBay. You could find Peanuts and Chex Mix large snack tins. Like, those big popcorn tins? You get the 3 different flavors of popcorn in around the holidays. They have stuff on the outside. Well, there were some of those with Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Chex Mix. There were banks that looked like Snoopy's doghouse. The 1990s were always good for a bank giveaway, I think, with food products.
The 1990s.
It sounds weird when you say it like an old-time prospector. It's not like the 1900s, the gold rush days.
1900s.
Yeah. Well, if you were back in those days roaming around the countryside, you would need a drinking canteen. You could get one from the 80s and 90s with Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Chex Mix plastered all over it. There were gift bags, snack bowls. You could even buy, pre-measured seasoning packets for flavoring your Chex Mix that had a picture of Charlie Brown and a little chef hat on it.
Did you get any of them?
No, this was a little bit before I had awareness of things that I could purchase on my own. And also eBay didn't exist then, so you either got it when it came out or you didn't get it at all.
You were 8 years old.
Yeah, I was quite young back then. Those were the days, right?
Good old days.
And I was probably watching on TV a series of commercials from the 80s and 90s that featured all the Peanuts characters, usually eating too much Chex Mix, then fretting about the fact that there was no more, and then being relieved when they found out how easy it was to actually make Chex Mix. And at the end, they would say something like, Chex Mix tastes great, goes fast.
So that could be their catchphrase then.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it was back then.
Oh.
And those commercials are, if you know anything about the animated Peanuts specials, they're adorable. They're all done up in the classic Lee Mendelsohn, Bill Melendez style that's so associated with the famous Peanuts TV specials. And you know what else is associated with Peanuts and animated TV specials and the holidays list?
Charlie Brown.
A Charlie Brown Christmas. That's right. That's what we're going to talk about right now.
Blockhead.
Yeah, Charlie Brown is a blockhead, and everybody got to find out that Charlie Brown was a blockhead for the first time on December 9th, 1965. The success of this program, A Charlie Brown Christmas, a holiday classic, is generally attributed to 3 people. Charles Schulz, obviously, who created Peanuts, the producer of the episodes, of the specials, Lee Mendelsohn, and then the director, Bill Melendez, who we already knew, Alyssa, from the Monster cereal commercials for Count Chocula and Frankenberry and Boo Berry.
Dada, Sophie was born on December 9th.
Well, happy birthday to Sophie then.
Sophia?
Sophie, your cousin, yeah, I know.
Oh, why'd you look so sad?
I'm not sad. I'm laughing at how easily you're distracted.
Oh, let's move on.
Well, listen, the thing that you get most distracted by when you first turn on that Peanuts special is the very soft tones of the jazz music that's playing in the background, because that's not really something until 1965, that is, that was associated.
Time is here.
That's right, with the holidays. And that we have to attribute to a guy named Vince Guaraldi and the Vince Guaraldi Trio, who provided the jazz soundtrack for this, which was the first of many Peanuts TV specials. Listen, that music is so good and so inseparable from that TV special, A Charlie Brown Christmas, that it's sort of become like an auditory shorthand for the general malaise of the holidays, and the recognition that even the best of us can feel overwhelmed by the holiday season when everything around us is joyful and we just feel miserable sometimes, like Charlie Brown does.
The second that starts playing, Chase gets on his feet and starts doing that swaying dance.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's sort of like classical conditioning.
That's the best.
It is the best. And in fact, Vince Guaraldi himself might be responsible for the entire thing, the whole Charlie Brown Christmas television special. It turns out, here's a weird thing that happened. Lee Mendelsohn was giving an interview to Rolling Stone in 2015. He said it was 1963. He was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. He was just finished up shooting a documentary on Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts, and he was thinking about how he needed music for it when Vince Guaraldi's song, Cast Your Fate to the Wind, came on the radio. That was sort of a surprise hit for Vince Guaraldi. It was a B-side initially, but then it went on to win a Grammy, and Mendelsohn thought that song sounded both adult and childlike at the same time, which is sort of how he associated Charlie Brown and the Peanuts characters. So he called up his friend, a guy named Ralph Gleason. He was the jazz critic for the San Francisco Chronicle, the newspaper in San Francisco at the time.
Chronicles,
that's right, like Christmas Chronicles that you watched last night.
And I'm going to watch the second one tonight.
And I have a feeling you're going to watch them over and over and over for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mendelsohn asked Gleason if he knew Guaraldi, and as fate would have it, those two were having lunch the very next day, so Mendelsohn and Guaraldi met up, and then they agreed to work together on the Schulz documentary. Now, that documentary didn't sell. It went unaired for a long time, but the Coca-Cola company saw it, and they asked Mendelsohn if he would be able to put together a Peanuts Christmas special for them, because Coca-Cola needed a 25-minute commercial that they could sponsor during prime time in the Christmas season, and they thought Peanuts might be the right thing for that. So without even asking further, Mendelsohn said, absolutely, I can do that. And then he called up Charles Schulz and he told him that he had just sold the Peanuts Christmas special. And Schulz said, well, what's that? And Mendelsohn said, that's the thing that we are going to write tomorrow. Yeah, so they sat down and in less than a day, they wrote the treatment for what would become a Charlie Brown Christmas. Now, Liz, one last quick note about the soundtrack.
What?
It is certified 5 times platinum. Do you know what that means?
I'm assuming it's very good.
That means they have sold more than 5 million copies of the Vince Guaraldi Trio's album, A Charlie Brown Christmas, featuring the songs from the television special.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, by most counts, it is the second best-selling jazz album of all time, right
What's
next
first?
to Kind of Blue by Miles Davis.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, well, guess what we're doing immediately after this?
Listening to it?
We're going to listen to some Miles Davis. Liz.
What?
The Guaraldi jazz album, A Charlie Brown Christmas, has just been re-released, like just last month, in a new special edition that was based on tape masters that were discovered when Lee Mendelsohn's son, Jason, went searching for them during the pandemic, because that was going to be like around the, some 50th anniversary of one of the specials. And that music that has become such a memorable part of the holidays each year and just got that new re-release, the original drummer for the Vince Guaraldi Trio, a guy named Jerry Granelli, said the entire recording session to do all the music for the show only took about 3 hours. And then the band went out and played a gig later that night.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they didn't even think it was a big deal. Now, later on, I was telling you this at the top of the show before we started recording, the little kids that you hear singing the vocals for Christmas Time Is Here.
They got paid $5 each and paid them with like candy.
Ice cream. Yeah, they got paid $5 to sing the song during an extra recording session that came afterwards, because the original song, the original composition didn't have any lyrics, but then Mendelsohn sat down and he wrote some words for it because they thought they needed a little bit more something. And they brought a choir of kids in, and on this new re-release, you can hear on the masters the kids sort of goofing around and singing the songs, and there's some outtakes there. Yeah, they had to keep them late to finish up that night, so they paid them $5 and they gave them some ice cream and they called it a day.
Who played like the voice of the little kids?
Well, there were a lot of child actors that played the voices of all the little kids in the specials. Charlie Brown was played by an actor named Peter Robbins, who was just a little boy, a child actor, and he was, I think that was like the only thing that he was known for. I don't think that Peter Robbins did much else after that. And then all of the other actors, all the other child actors that did the voices for the kids, they weren't professional voice actors. Most of them weren't actors of any kind. They just came in, they did the voices, they sounded like kids, and that's kind of what made it so special and magical, that they weren't these sort of rehearsed or polished scenes. I think of specifically when Sally's talking about wanting to get money from Santa Claus for Christmas, and she says, all I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share. Yeah, and it sounds just like a little kid would say it, because it was.
So did Charlie Brown's like voice actor, how much did he get paid?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Probably at the time they got paid whatever scale was for child actors, which was, like a flat rate. So probably not that much, but I would imagine that they did fairly well in royalties and perpetuity.
Yep.
Now, here's the interesting thing about all that, Liz. There was no guarantee that the Charlie Brown Christmas special was going to be a hit. It was definitely not a sure thing in 1965 when it debuted. The New York Times called it a big gamble, and they weren't wrong. It was this very slow-moving, animated, jazz-scored sort of melancholy meditation on childhood depression and anxiety. It had these themes of anti-consumerism, even though it was sponsored by the Coca-Cola Company, and it was airing in color in primetime. And what's worse, Liz, Peanuts had already been in print in newspaper comic strips for about 15 years already, so everybody in their mind had preconceived notions about what Charlie Brown and the other characters should act and move and sound like. And then, of course, the whole thing ends with Linus reading a passage from the Gospel of St. Luke from the Bible. It was bonkers. So even Bill Melendez, the director, said during a rough cut animation review that he thought he had ruined Charlie Brown. They thought it was going to be a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, the whole thing was made in just 6 months. They asked for $76,000. They got that. They needed an extra $20K to finish it. So for less than $100,000 and just 10 days before it went on the air, the show was finished. And they all thought it was going to be a mess.
Oh my goodness.
But guess what?
What?
They were wrong.
Yep.
Liz, 15 million people watched it live that year.
That's like a lot of people.
That's like a lot of people, especially in 1965 when television wasn't as prevalent or popular as it was in the 80s and 90s or even today. They did a thing for the ratings that was called a 50 share. Do you know what a 50 share means for television ratings? It would be absolutely unheard of today.
No clue.
A 50 share means that 50% of people with televisions were tuned in and watching that program. Half of everybody in the country that could watch it was all sitting in front of their TV at the same time watching it. That is unreal.
Did you know that there are now 8 billion people in the world?
I did know that there are now 8 billion people in the world. And if all of them had a television, that would mean for a 50 share, 4 billion people would be watching Charlie Brown.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine?
I can't.
Well, since that day that it aired and 50% of people with televisions were tuned in, hundreds of millions more have probably seen it since then. It won a Peabody Award, it won an Emmy Award, it led to the greenlighting of all the subsequent holiday specials like The Grinch and Frosty the Snowman in later years. And, of course, there were some further implications that were unintended based on its runaway success. You remember the part of the special where Charlie Brown and Linus go to the aluminum tree lot and they see all the shiny, sparkly metal Christmas trees?
Yep, and then Charlie Brown picks the smallest dead one.
And Charlie Brown picks a real tree. So here's a weird thing that happened. If you were going to buy an aluminum Christmas tree in the 1960s, you were going to buy a tree called an evergleam. You were probably going to get it out of the Sears catalog. And if you would have waited just 2 years later, you wouldn't have been able to buy it at all because everybody watched the Charlie Brown Christmas special. They listened to Charlie Brown say that all the aluminum Christmas trees were tacky and ugly and soulless. And everybody agreed. And all of the aluminum tree companies went out of business within the next 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Remember when I said that Bill Melendez thought that he had killed Charlie Brown by making a bad special?
Yeah.
Well, here's a part of that story that always gets forgotten. There was an animator named Ed Levitt that worked on the program. He had previously worked for the Disney Company on Fantasia and some other animated features. He stood up and he said, "No, Bill, we didn't kill Charlie Brown. This special is going to run for 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're more than halfway there.
More than halfway, so they're like, I'm going to make a guess. So I'm going to say about 78 years and 36 days and 22 hours.
Well, that's a very precise
and
projection.
25.3 seconds.
And 25.3 seconds. I think there's a good chance that you'll be able to watch a Charlie Brown Christmas for 100 years on television or something like it.
Yep.
So here's an interesting thing, Liz. A Charlie Brown Christmas is a cultural institution. It's a perennial tradition every December. If you go online right now, you can find some people that are talking about exactly what we're talking about, which is the ability to watch this show. Because this year, it will not air on a traditional television network.
Why?
You're only going to be able to watch it on the Apple TV Plus streaming service this year.
We don't have that.
We don't.
So, but isn't it still on YouTube?
Well, yeah, I bought it on YouTube a bunch of years ago. So we can still watch it there. Liz?
What?
You have been watching A Charlie Brown Christmas every year since you were born. We just watched it again this year. We watched it last year. You've seen it every year since you were born, but I didn't watch it when I was a kid. I came to it late.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that?
No.
I adore it now, but it wasn't one of the holiday specials that I watched religiously when I was little. I always thought it was kind of dorky. That was mostly because I had never seen it. But then finally, when I watched it as an adult, I came to this realization that Charlie Brown was right, Alyssa.
About see.
Go on.
He didn't have to be happy.
That's right. He could just be himself. It's okay to slow down and recognize that the holiday seasons mean different things to different people in different ways. And that message and all the things that Charlie Brown does has since become one of my favorite parts of the holiday season every year. And Alyssa.
What?
Do you know what my favorite part of this show is?
Alyssa reads the ingredients.
Alyssa reads the ingredients. Buckle up, kid. This is a big one. There's lots of stuff in the Chex Mix.
I know. We practically already went through what's in the Chex Mix.
Well, let's hear all of those ingredients. Go ahead. This is traditional bagged Chex Mix.
Okay. Whole wheat. Oh my goodness. I'm already at a word I don't know.
Degermed.
Degermed yellow cornmeal. Enriched flour. Wheat flour. Niacin. Iron. Thiamine. Monotrate. Mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, vegetable oil, soybean, rice bran, and or canola, sugar, rye flour, contains 2% or less of salt, maltodextrin, yeast, spices, color added, dextrose, distilled monoglycerides,
very good,
baking soda, yellow corn flour, trisodium phosphate. That's in everything.
Yes, it is.
Calcium carbonate, autolyzed yeast, dried onion, dried garlic, hydrolyzed soy protein, barley malt syrup, fumaric acid, citric acid, caraway, disodium inosate, I don't know that word. Guanylate, natural flavor, sodium diacetate, freshness preserved by BHT.
Wow, that was a good one.
That was the worst thing ever.
That was the biggest one yet, I think.
I don't know. I feel like there's been bigger. There was one, and it was I can't remember it now.
You know what? Maybe the monster cereals had more stuff in them.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
That's probably what it was.
No, it wasn't more of it. It's just I had to read for every one for the different flavors.
Well, listen, those are part of the rules of the show. Alyssa has to read the ingredients.
Yep.
And now we have to get down to the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Junk Feud is a culinary clash to see which treat will be crowned the undisputed champion of snacks. It's a King of the Mountain style battle in which the reigning champ takes on a new challenger each week to see which snack reigns supreme. Liz.
What?
The inaugural and reigning defending undisputed champion, the holder of the Kringle Kup, is the Hot Cocoa Hershey Kiss. This is its first title defense. We had them last week. They were good.
They were great.
So the challenger this week is store-bought traditional Chex Mix, now this year new, with bagel chips that we bought prepackaged from Walmart.
Yep, Walmart.
But wait, Liz.
What?
Here comes bold Chex Mix.
The best Chex Mix.
Well, spoiler alert. Bold Chex Mix is just like regular Chex Mix, but more, basically.
Yeah, it's more flavor.
Yeah, the ingredients are mostly the same, but the bold has a little bit more saturated fat, a little bit less sodium. It adds some MSG.
Oh.
Which we like. It's got some corn syrup solids, some molasses powder, some dried cheeses. Basically, it's adding all the stuff you want from the Bliss Point. Sugar, umami flavors, stuff that comes across as more savory on the palate. So sugar, fat, and salt. It's all Bliss Point.
Yep.
And now, Liz.
It's
crunch time.
Oh, that was a fun one.
That was a good one. We did it backwards.
Crunch time it's.
No, not like that.
Time crunch it's.
Oh boy. We rate our snacks using a tier list from sprinkles to fun dip.
Sprinkles to fun dip.
So snacks can be graded A, B, C, D, or F. The very best treats will earn the elusive S tier ranking. The following contest is scheduled for one serving.
One serving.
And is for the undisputed championship of holiday snacks, the Kringle Kup.
The Kringle Kup.
So, Liz, we're going to do this a little bit differently for this episode because this is our holiday special of sorts. We're going to talk about, Alyssa, of all the different things that are in Chex Mix, all of the different pieces, what is the best piece and why is it the rye chip?
It is not the rye chip for me.
It is the rye chip, 100% for sure. The entire internet agrees with me.
Oh, I hate the rye chip.
You hate the rye chip.
That was my least favorite.
Oh my goodness, blasphemy. Well, we did try all of these pieces individually in the traditional Chex Mix just to figure out which ones we like the best. We have our rankings here.
I'm forced to do this.
Yeah, you were forced to eat snacks that you like. It's so terrible.
So terrible.
So like first is wheat Chex.
Yeah.
I said the wheat Chex piece was like a B-. You said it was a B.
Yep.
We both liked the corn Chex piece with the savory seasoning on it a little bit more. I said it was a B. You said it was a B+.
Yeah.
Then we got to the pretzels. There are two types of pretzels. There are round pretzels that are in a circle, and then there are square pretzels that have like a little cross in the middle.
They taste the same, but the round pretzels are just more crunchy, I think.
Yeah, so you thought the round pretzels were a little better and liked them because you thought they were crunchier. I don't like either pretzel in this snack mix at all. D for the round pretzel from me. D+ for the square pretzel only because it has a little bit more surface area, which means it gets more seasoning on it. You said the round pretzel was a B+. You liked it a lot. You said the square pretzel was a B.
Yep.
Okay, we disagree there. Then it came to the breadstick, that little squiggly thing. This is unimpressive to me. Middle of the road. I gave it a C. You thought it was a little bit better. You gave it a B. It's really just a delivery mechanism for the seasoning.
Honestly, I don't really like the breadstick. I just feel like it's kind of there.
Yeah, it is just kind of there. That's why I think that's why I said it was average.
Yeah.
Then we got to the thing that we disagreed on the most, the rye chip, which I said was an A, and I think it's the most flavorful component of the entire snack mix. I think it has the best texture overall. I gave it an A. You said B-.
I know I gave it a B-, but I feel like for me it's less than that.
Less than a B-. That would be your worst scored piece in the entire bag.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'd probably instead of a B- gave it like a C.
A C, like average, like the breadstick? You think the breadstick and the rye chip are the same?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like the rye chip at all. So at lunch, Mom packed me the Chex Mix and I gave the rye chips away.
Oh, at least did you give them to somebody we like?
Adelia and Alex.
Shout out to Adelia and Alex, the recipients of the 2022 Kringle Kup rye chips.
They got mad at me when I said I didn't like rye chips.
Yeah, as well they should. They're correct. Their opinions are right, and yours is, what's a word for unright?
Unright. Disagreed.
Yeah, and then new this year in the traditional snack mix is the bagel chip, which returns after a hiatus. It used to be in some of the prepackaged mixes, then it was gone for a while, now it's back. I don't think the bagel chip really brings anything to the party here. The rye chip already does all the work that the bagel chip is supposed to be doing in a better way. The bagel chips are unimpressive. C+ for me.
I gave them
slightly
a B.
better than average. You said B+. That was your highest rated piece along with corn Chex and the round pretzel.
Yep.
So we do have some different opinions on the individuality of the pieces in the snack mix, but I think we agree, Liz, that taken as a whole, all together, when you have all of these components, you take a big handful of Chex snack mix and you pop the whole handful in your mouth. The amalgamation of all of those things together is really, really good. Chex Mix is excellent. Now, here's how I would rate these. Okay. Prepackaged, store-bought Chex Mix with the limited ingredients that you get. I think it's an above-average snack. I'd say it's a B.
That's what I gave it to. I gave it a B+.
You gave it a B+ overall. I gave it a B. When you bump up to the bold seasoned Chex Mix, I think that makes it an A.
Same.
Full letter grade for me. So you're going from B+ to A+?
No, just
or
an
B+
A.
to A.
Just
So we
A.
both agree that the bold Chex Mix is an A snack.
Yep.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the interesting thing. I think that if you take any homemade Chex Mix, any homemade party mix, seasoned or unseasoned, as long as you put all of the stuff that you like in it, I think that gets elevated above whatever you could buy in the store. I don't think that's terribly controversial. I think everybody would say, my version is better. The stuff I make at home is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I would go as far to say that whatever version of snack mix, whatever version of Chex Mix, whatever version of party mix that you make at home, you, the listener, you, our friends out there in junk feud land,
Yeah.
you get an A+ for your snack mix.
Yeah, like, people have opinions, guys. No need to get controversial.
That's right. And here's something that won't be controversial, Liz. We're going to hit the bliss point. Chex Mix has a great bliss point. There is sugar, fat, and salt in both of these prepackaged mixes, and especially the stuff that you make at home. That will have all those things in it, too.
We basically already went over the bliss point.
We did. So now what do we have to decide, Liz? Is Chex Mix better than a hot cocoa Hershey Kiss?
I have my answer.
Yeah, I want to hear what your answer is because I know mine too. You go first.
I'd say that, see, this is how I decide all of mine.
Oh boy.
If there was a bag of Chex Mix sitting in front of you or a few Hershey Kisses, which would you go for?
That's right.
I would personally say the Chex Mix.
Oh, and now you're looking at me like you're waiting for me to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Which I absolutely will do. Chex Mix, I think, a superior holiday snack. Hot cocoa Hershey Kisses are great. They're lovely. They're wonderful. Give me a big bowl of crunchy salt every time. Give me the big bowl of crunchy salt. We love the Chex Mix. And that means this.
What?
Our winner and new holder of the Kringle Kup, Chex Mix.
Chex Mix.
Chex Mix, we love it. And you know what else we love?
What?
The Oreo rule.
Yeah.
No Oreo today. We talked about the old holiday Oreos last week. But you know what? I think next week we're going to try those white fudge covered, snowy holiday Oreos.
Good idea.
I already have some downstairs and I just want an excuse to eat them.
And you didn't tell me?
You know that they're there. Well, maybe you don't. I did hide them pretty well.
Yeah.
Hey, here's something we don't hide. Every week we ask an important question on this show.
Can you deep fry?
Can you deep fry this snack? Will it deep fry? Guess what?
What?
For the first time ever, I think, I could not find a single reference to deep fried Chex Mix on the internet. I don't think that anybody out there is deep frying their Chex Mix.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness. I mean, this is just the wrong application of that.
That just seems gross.
It does kind of seem gross. I mean, everything is already crunchy and baked or fried, so you don't need to do it again. I mean, if you want to make this stuff, you can bake it in the oven to set the seasonings, that sort of flavored butter that you put on it. You could pop those in the air fryer to do that too, sure, but not deep fried. Thank goodness for that, I think.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for this next segment, Alyssa. It's time to check out the Back of the Box, a weekly segment where we play a little game.
I would love to play a game.
I didn't even ask this time. You just went right to it.
Yeah. When do I not, Dad?
Well, it's a holiday tradition, I guess.
It's a holiday.
Because every Thursday is a holiday here on Junk Feud. And this week's segment, Lissa, is a returning segment called A Trip to Mount Crunchmore.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to switch it up this week. We are not doing a traditional Mount Crunchmore. We're not going to do our top 4 holiday snacks or anything like that. We're going to do, in honor of a Charlie Brown Christmas, a Mount Crunchmore of holiday specials. Alyssa, what are your top 4 holiday TV specials?
For me, definitely Charlie Brown Christmas.
Sure. Number 1, probably, right?
Frosty the Snowman.
The animated Frosty the Snowman from Rankin Bass. That's an excellent choice.
Prep and Landing.
Prep and Landing, a new classic.
And Mickey's Christmas Carol.
And Mickey's Christmas Carol. I'll tell you this right now, Liz.
What?
Those are great choices. Charlie Brown Christmas, we just talked about. Frosty the Snowman, an animated storybook come to life. Prep and Landing, some of the best work that Disney has done in the 3D animated space in the past, 20 years. And that's high praise. And then, of course, Mickey's Christmas Carol, the classic retelling of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol in the inimitable, late 80s, early 90s Don Bluth animated Disney style. Very nice.
Yeah.
I love that. And in fact, Mickey's Christmas Carol is on my Mount Crunchmore as well.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really rank any of these. These are just my top 4 in no particular order, but Mickey's Christmas Carol is certainly on there. That's one I look forward to every year. I will also say a Garfield Christmas.
Garfield. I forgot about that one.
A Garfield Christmas, fantastic. A claymation Christmas celebration.
Have I watched that one?
Oh, you sure have. The little figures made by Will Vinton that look like they're made out of Play-Doh and they're stop motion animated and they're singing a bunch of songs and there are dinosaurs that host the whole thing. The California raisins are at the end. It's fantastic.
I don't remember that.
And then finally, this one's a bit of an outlier. There's another Rankin Bass animated special, this one from 1974. It's called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, but it's not a traditional retelling of the Clement Moore Night Before Christmas poem. Instead, this is a super weird cartoon about a mouse that's a bit of a know-it-all, and he writes a letter to Santa Claus, or he writes a letter to a newspaper doubting the existence of Santa Claus, and so Santa Claus decides that he's not going to visit the town that the mouse lives in, and all the kids are sad, and then a guy has to build a clock, but then the mouse breaks the clock, and then Santa Claus comes anyway. Super, super weird. I love it.
Way to add to your weird list.
Yeah, you know what? There is lots of weird holiday stuff that just deserves our attention, I think.
Deserves your attention.
Well, it definitely deserves my attention. Hey, here are some other things that deserve my attention. These are my honorable mentions, Alyssa.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there are just too many to pick only 4. I gave you the top 4. Here are the other ones I like a lot. Obviously, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Boris Karloff narrating, superb. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, we've talked about this on the show before, haven't we? About how Santa Claus is a psychopath in that show.
Yeah.
It's absolutely very weird. Charlie Brown Christmas, obviously, we just talked about. I really like also another animated special called A Wish for Wings That Work. Do you remember that one?
No.
Opus the penguin wants to be able to fly. Bill the cat is sort of like an interloper.
I have that book.
Yeah, we have that book. We read it. And then, of course, Prep and Landing. And finally, another Disney special. This one from 1958. Well, at least that was the original airing. It's called From All of Us to All of You. There were a number of different Disney Christmas specials that aired either on the Disney Channel or on the Disney Anthology show. This one, called From All of Us to All of You, was like a sort of a clip show that showed a bunch of different Disney holiday cartoons all stitched together. And there was sort of like a framing device where Jiminy Cricket was sort of playing the piano and singing about the Christmas season and all of the great things that were happening in all of those Disney cartoons. It's very nice. All of these things make me very wistful and nostalgic for the Christmas season.
Me too.
And I think that is an excellent way to end this show, Alyssa.
This podcast should reach you in excellent condition.
Hey, you're doing my thing.
Satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. If you've got a question for us, you can write to the address on the label. That's junkfoodpod@gmail.com.
Great job, kid. Hey, this podcast has contained your recommended daily allowance of fun. For more, go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or wherever you choose to be social, and find us at JunkFeudPod. Stream with us on Twitch, watch fun-sized snack reviews on YouTube, buy merch on TeePublic, and fund us on Patreon at JunkFeudPod for exclusive bites. Don't forget to catch all the snaction each and every week wherever you listen to podcasts. Until we see you again, for Alyssa, I'm Mike.
Hasta lasagna.
Don't get any on ya.
Bye. Fa la 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 loser.
Oh boy.